Welcome back to Turning Hard Times into Good Times. I'm your host, Jay Taylor, and I'm really pleased to have with me once again David Wolfin. David is the president and CEO and the director of Avino Silver and Gold Mines, and he is the son of a well-known Vancouver mine builder who I've known over the many years that I've been in this business, namely Louis Wolfin. In fact, David's father, Louis, acquired the company's flagship mine for the company way back a long time ago. When I first learned about it, it was in the 1980s or so. But David has picked up where his father left off, and actually his father has to be very proud of him because he's developing, this company's moving along as a profitable producer at a time when it's been very difficult to make money in the mining business. Avino Silver and Gold Mines trades on the New York Stock Exchange and also in Toronto under the symbol ASM, Albert Sam Mary. I have 35.3, call it 35.4 million shares that traded earlier today in New York at around $1.70, giving it a market cap of around $60 million. And the company's made, through the first 9 months of this year, made 9 cents a share, and as I just noted, a very, very difficult market. So welcome, David. It's really good to have you with me again.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks, Jay.
And I noticed that you really have increased your production very dramatically, 49% in fact, to 1,342,000 ounces of silver equivalent ounces, because you have some gold and some copper there as well, I guess. How did you manage to increase your production to that level this year?
Well, we just completed a big expansion. So we added a third circuit in the mill. So combined, it's operating at 1,500 tons per day, which triples the capacity in the mill. If you look at our fourth quarter in 2014, we produced about 436,000 ounces of silver equivalent, which is more than double the fourth quarter of 2012, well, growing from 2012, but it's 2013 was 250. So yeah, it's still almost double. So we're growing substantially. We completed dewatering of the old Avino mine and started running that ore through the mill January 1st. So we're expecting another jump this year, probably bigger than the 49% of last year.
Yeah, you actually started, I think, producing it from the Avino mine only in, was it towards the end of like September or something like that?
Yeah, we started processing on a small scale in one of our smaller circuits, just so we could get the product ready so we can take it to the market and send to the trading firms so they can bid on it. But it was January 1st that we actually started processing fresh ore through Circuit 3, which was the 1,000-ton per day circuit that we added.
Only on January? Okay, so we could be looking at, I see why, then we should be looking at the much larger production this year, 2015.
Absolutely. So in April, you'll see Q1 numbers, and look out, it's going to be pretty good. The production is definitely. So.
Do you have a fix on the cost, David? Your cash costs historically, what have they been, and how do you expect them to trend into the future?
Well, the cash cost in 2013 was about $10.16, and then all-in sustaining was $14.39. But if you look at the 3 quarters after that, the cash cost has it's bounced around from anywhere from $8.60 to $10.30, but the all-in has dropped down to about $13. So we shaved off about a $1.40 from 2013. So 2014 is shaping up to be nice, and also with this new expansion, you've got economies of scale. So we hope to improve on those numbers even further in this year.
So a lot of your fixed cost, you have a lot of fixed costs, and so they're not going to increase, but your production will. I noticed that you have on the San Gonzalo mine, your grades went up a lot. Was that because you chose to mine higher grades with lower prices, or did it just happen that way?
No, it just happened that way. We got down into, I guess, the heart of the system, and the grades were really good in that particular area. And now we've made a discovery to the east of San Gonzalo, so we're developing that right now. So we've got high hopes that we'll continue to process at these grades, which is about 300 grams silver and almost 2 grams gold.
Mm-hmm. So you have 1,500 tons of capacity now, is that right?
Yep.
And 1,500 tons, do you have enough mill feed to keep that completely full now, or not?
Oh, sure. Well, with San Gonzalo, there's about 2 to 3 years left, tonnage as of today, but we're finding more material. But with Avino, in the measured and indicated category, there's over 4 million tons. So Circuit 3 is 1,000 tons per day, so that's about 12 years of mine life. Mm-hmm. And then in the inferred category, there's another 3 million tons, so we want to upgrade those, that tonnage into the measured and indicated. So at some point, Avino could feed the entire plant.
So any possibilities of expanding production, David? Expanding?
Sure.
I mean,
sure. We've got... there's dozens of old artisanal mines all over the property that we don't know much about, and now that we've got good, decent cash flow, we're gearing up for a good drill program to go around and test these areas. So there may be other San Gonzalo, like narrow, high-grade veins that we could use to feed our plant. And the beauty of Avino's mill is there's 3 independent circuits after the crushing circuit. So we can keep the product separate. And then also you've got the tailings project. In the 70s and 80s, we were an open pit mine, and we had really poor recovery rates. And today you have a new technology called heap bleaching. Well, not so new. It came out in the 80s and 90s. And so we did a PEA on reprocessing the oxide tailings, and that's an area we want to look at later next year. And it's a $29 million capex, but the operating costs are really low because it's just moving it and agglomerating it and heap leaching it. But it'll produce 1.4 million ounces of silver equivalent annually for 5 years on top of what we're doing now.
Wow. So give me a sense of what your total production might be then when you get those
that
tailings.
Project, it depends on when we get our permits to build our new tailings, which we've applied for. So at some point this year, we'll decommission the current tailings and start depositing on a new tailings facility, and then we can look to move the old tailings project forward. Tetra Tech that did the PEA, and they're recommending 90 sonic holes, metallurgical test work, and then it would basically make it a reserve, and we could make a construction decision. And at that point, they felt it would take about a year to build it out. So 2017, 2018 is what we're kind of targeting for the tailings expansion.
Mm-hmm. Well, certainly we had J. Michael Oliver was on our show. He's a very, very astute technical analyst, and one that I have come to appreciate very significantly, and he has turned quite bullish on both gold and silver, but believes that silver will actually outperform gold in the next few years, perhaps. But certainly, give our listeners some sense of how important are the gold and copper credits in your operation.
Well, the gold is probably about 10%, but the copper now is going to be significant because there's different mineralization at Avino and San Gonzalo. Avino, when we closed the mine in 2001, the last year, it produced about 3.5 million tons of copper. Or pounds of copper, and so we're going to be generating that again now, starting this year.
So that will, I guess you treat it from an accounting perspective, treat it as a credit to the silver production. Yeah,
correct.
Well, it looks like you should be shareholders should be very happy, especially if Michael Oliver is right and we're heading into a higher silver price environment. You have gold. You might have more gold into the future. One thing I'd like to ask you about before we conclude our discussion today, and that is the Braylorn gold mine. How is that coming along? And tell our listeners a little bit about how you picked that up.
Oh, it was picked up in the early 1990s from Homestake. My father picked it up, and he didn't have the money to develop it, so he created a new company called Braylorn and spun the asset out. Well, we just amalgamated the two mines. So it's all under one umbrella. It's a fully permitted mine. It was running at 100 tons per day. We recently just shut down the mill and put it on care and maintenance because we want to raise the tailings dam based on what's happened in BC, Mount Polley. We want to be very careful and have a sufficient reserve in that tailings dam. So in the meantime, we've ordered new scoop trams, jumbos, and we're doing underground development work. So we're looking at a 3-phase program. The first one is just to optimize the operation. The second would be to take it to up to 250 tons per day. And the third would be to self-fund itself up to 500 tons per day, which is what it's permitted for. But that's going to take several years, and we need some drilling luck. We're going to be drilling all over the property, and if those results warrant it, then we can go ahead with our grand plan is to increase the capacity of the mine.
It's a pretty high-grade deposit, as I understand. In a vein system, is it?
Yes, it is. It's made up of 3 mines, the King, Braylorn, and Pioneer. Collectively, they produced over 4 million ounces of gold. The Braylorn mine was listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange in the 30s, and Pioneer was on the New York Stock Exchange. The Guggenheim family owned it. At that time, the Pioneer mine was the richest gold mine in the world. It averaged 3/4 of an ounce per ton. So we're really excited about what we're going to find as we go deeper in the gap zones in between the mines. Plus, we've been digitally modeling a lot of the old data because it operated before a computer. So once all that's complete, we can project down where we're going to hit the higher grade vein systems.
David, it's remarkable. You've got only 35.4 million shares outstanding. So you have a very small market cap yet, from my perspective, given your, in U.S. $1.70 or so per share.
Sure.
And you're taking on expansion here. To what extent can you grow your company organically, that is, with cash flow, or are you going to have to issue more shares? Because I love a company that has so few shares and can grow organically.
Well, we have options. We want to keep it, we don't want to issue too many shares, but, if the market spikes up and we have an opportunity, we'll consider it. But
sure,
we have other options to us, for raising capital, and we're exploring them, but there's no urgency. So
yeah, so you'll wait for the price to get high enough to raise capital efficiently by issuing shares, if you do raise shares.
Yeah,
that's certainly what I want to hear as a shareholder. That's for sure. One thing I noticed, getting back now to your Durango operations, I noticed in reading something you just put out that Avino has a 100% interest in 5 more properties in or near Durango. So, with 2 minutes left, could you just give us some sense of, are those advanced properties? Are they former mines, or what are they?
One of them, the Anna Maria, is on the CRD belt, and there's a lot of potential there. There was an iron mine there years ago, but never explored for precious metals, so we want to explore that. We have another project up northern Durango, which is about 25 kilometers away from Pitarrilla, which is Silver Standard's big mine. And it's on strike, so there's potential there. But these are grassroots projects that we've held for in inventory for when we have more cash flow to go explore them.
Right. Well, it's exciting. Any possibility of vending them off to someone else, let them spend their money to come in and explore?
Potentially. I mean, one of the properties just to the west of us is in the heart of Coors property in La Preciosa, which is directly beside us. So there's no formal discussions going on, but if they want to come spend money on our property, our door's open.
Okay, well, we'll have to leave it go at that. My engineer is telling me we're just about out of time. David, this is a fascinating story, folks. It's Avino Silver and Gold Mines, ASM on the New York Exchange as well as Toronto, making money. I believe they're going to make a lot more money, so take note and check out Avino Silver and Gold. Thank you very much, David, for being with me today, and I look forward to talking to you again sometime in the not-too-distant future.
Thank you very much for having me.